The hum of the plane was a distant, almost comforting sound, one that barely registered in my mind as I leaned back in my seat, eyes half closed. The week had been long, dragging on with the monotony of meetings, client dinners, and hotel rooms that all looked the same. You know how it is, the kind of week that grinds you down until you're not even sure what day it is anymore. Now, as the plane ascended into the darkening sky, all I wanted was to get home, lock the door behind me, and lose myself in the weekend, if only to escape the endless loop of my thoughts. I was 30, single, and drifting through life. Each day bled into the next, marked by a vague sense of discontent that gnawed at me more persistently as the years went by. My career was stable, my friends were supportive, but the question that haunted me was the one I couldn't shake. Is this it? Is this all life has to offer? The cabin lights dimmed slightly, signaling the beginning of the flight's quiet phase. I sighed, letting my gaze wander to the window beside me. The world outside was a vast expanse of twilight, the last traces of the sun slipping beneath the horizon. I watched it fade, feeling a pang of envy for its simple purpose. Rise, set, rise again. What I wouldn't give for such clarity in my own life. Ahead, a young girl caught my attention. She was fidgeting nervously, glancing around as if searching for something or someone that could make her feel safe. My heart softened. I remembered being that age, feeling the same anxious flutter in my stomach during flights. I wanted to offer her some comfort, but I wasn't sure how to approach her without coming off as strange. Instead, I turned my gaze back to the window, trying to lose myself in the clouds that were quickly becoming indistinguishable in the darkness. Then, it happened. A sudden jolt, a sharp drop that made my stomach lurch into my throat. I gripped the armrest, my heart pounding as the plane shuddered violently. The calm, routine hum of the flight was replaced by a deep, mechanical groaning that sent a wave of panic through the cabin. Turbulence, I told myself, just a little turbulence. But the look on the flight attendants' faces as they rushed down the aisle told a different story. The lights flickered, and with a loud click, the oxygen masks dropped from the overhead compartments. Chaos erupted. Passengers scrambled to put on their masks, their fear palpable in the enclosed space. I fumbled with mine, my hands trembling as I secured it over my face. The sound of panicked voices filled the cabin, a cacophony of terror that drowned out the plane's groaning protests. Somewhere ahead, the young girl was crying. I could hear her over the din, her sobs piercing through the noise like a sharp blade. Without thinking, I unbuckled my seatbelt and stood, steadying myself against the violent swaying of the plane. I needed to reach her, to do something, anything to help. I stumbled down the aisle, the plane jerking violently beneath my feet. Reaching the girl's seat, I knelt beside her, pulling her close as the plane continued its erratic descent. Her tiny body trembled against mine, her sobs muffled by the mask covering her face. "It's okay," I whispered, my voice shaky. "We're going to be okay." But even as I said the words, I wasn't sure I believed them. The plane was dropping faster now, the groaning of the engines giving way to a high-pitched whine that made my blood run cold. I held onto the girl tighter, closing my eyes as I tried to block out the sound, the fear, the overwhelming certainty that these were our final moments. The plane pitched forward, sending the two of us sprawling into the seat ahead. I grunted in pain but didn't let go of her. Around us, the screams grew louder, more desperate. The lights flickered again, and for a brief moment, everything was plunged into darkness. When they came back on, I could see the fear etched on every face around me. Passengers clutching each other, crying out for loved ones they would never see again. I felt the plane tilt sharply, the ground rushing up to meet us. There was a final, sickening lurch as the plane's nose dipped, and then... impact! The world exploded in a blinding flash of light and sound. My body was thrown against the seat in front of me with bone-crushing force. My vision blurred, and for a moment, everything was pain. Then, just as quickly as it began, everything went black. I gasped, jerking awake. My heart was pounding, my body drenched in sweat. For a moment I was disoriented, the vividness of the event clinging to me like a thick fog. I looked around, my breath catching in my throat as I realized where I was. The plane was quiet, too quiet. My eyes darted around the cabin, expecting to see the chaos, the panic, the destruction. But there was none of that. The passengers were calm, some still dozing in their seats, others chatting quietly. The young girl I had been so desperate to save was asleep in her seat, her face peaceful, her hands clutching a stuffed animal. It was a dream, just a dream. I exhaled a shaky breath, wiping the sweat from my brow. I glanced out the window, expecting to see nothing but the dark void of night. Instead, I saw the familiar lights of the city, the runway stretching out below as the plane smoothly touched down. We had landed. I was home. Relief flooded through me, but it was tinged with the lingering terror of the dream. My heart still raced, the echo of the crash reverberating in my mind. I unbuckled my seatbelt with trembling hands, the plane's familiar announcement of our arrival playing over the speakers. As I stood to gather my things, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted within me. The dream had felt so real, the fear so raw. It had forced me to confront the fragility of life, the thin line between existence and oblivion. I disembarked the plane, still processing the remnants of the nightmare. The world outside the airport seemed sharper, more vibrant than it had in a long time. The weight that had settled on my shoulders felt lighter, though the questions about my life's purpose remained. As I stepped into the cool night air, I took a deep breath, savoring the sensation. The weekend lay ahead, and for the first time in months, I felt like it might hold something more than just an escape from the routine. The dream, though terrifying, had given me a new perspective, a reminder that every moment was precious, and that life, in all its uncertainty, was worth living. I walked towards the parking lot, my steps steady, my mind clear. I was home, and for now, that was enough.